Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to First Cut. This is our review of the new holiday movie that is on Hulu called Happiest Season. I am here with the crew, starting with RB3 and Sabrina as well. I'm so curious to get your guys' thoughts on this movie. It's a movie that just came out on Hulu, guys. It stars Kristen Stewart and Mackenzie Davis, two of my favorite actresses, if I'm being real. Right away, quick thoughts, overall thoughts. I want to get it from you, RB3.
Yeah, I mean, I finished watching this movie like literally right before the review, and I thought it was cool. You know, I mean, I thought it was an interesting little romantic drama comedy thing. You know, real rom-com kind of thing, and you know, it plays on something very relevant, which is LGBTQ relationships, lesbian relationships, in conservative households, and I think that's something that, you know, as we are starting to get more open and expressing ourselves as a society, those conflicts are becoming more and more prevalent, and I think in a lot of people's households. So I think it's interesting that they're kind of centering the movie around it. There has been some forms of this kind of premise before, like they're bringing the relationship home to a parent, but they don't know what's a relationship or something like that. That we've seen that kind of scenario before, whether it's Meet the Fockers or plenty of holiday bring home the family movies, but this one takes that little extra step, and I think it does it in a pretty good way. But I don't know how much I like the Harper lady all that much. So
We'll get there. Sabrina, you and I talked about this movie a little bit, but I want to get your overall thoughts as well.
Yeah, just kind of overall initial reaction was that I really, really love this movie. I loved it as a Christmas film, loved it as a rom-com. I really love the message that it kind of carried. I know we'll get into some of the negatives, but overall, I highly recommend it. I think there were great performances. Clea Duvall did a really great job directing this film because it just flows really well. Like, you don't notice anything in particular. I wouldn't say this is outstanding direction in any way, but I think her working on the screenplay with one of the actresses, the one who plays like the quirky sister, they worked on it together. That kind of shines throughout. I feel like they were able to work together to balance the tone, because I didn't realize with this premise that it could be as funny as it is. And none of the comedy is like making fun of the situation unless it's Kristen Stewart's character or Dan Levy's character. I feel like they add a lot of levity with the moments with the quirky sister, instead of making it kind of really deep, dark, and depressing, because that's what we kind of see a lot with a lot of LGBTQ films. I don't know if you guys noticed, but there's always that level of like a doomed romance, and we never really get to see a happy outcome. Now, do I agree that there should have been this happy outcome in this film? I don't know, but I am happy that we got that opportunity to see it. Kristen Stewart, absolutely incredible, so hilarious. Overall, enjoyed the hell out of it.
Yeah, I like that this movie is a comedy. That's a great point. I didn't think it would be as light and as fluffy as it was when the movie started. It kind of clicked on me because I thought it was going to be a little bit more dramatic, more dramedy than anything else. But this is way more rom-com than it is dramedy. Yeah, for sure. I really like that light tone. I have a little bit of, I don't even know if it's issues, because it's a lot of the plot problems that I have come from the comedy, which I will totally understand and I totally get. It's part of the humor of it all. However, it was hard to ignore. It just was hard to ignore certain things and certain moments that happened in the movie that I was like, run! RB3, you mentioned these movies that have been in the past about bringing your significant other home to meet the parents and all that stuff. You said meet the parents or Meet the Fockers is one example. I told Sabrina, this is Get Out, where Daniel Levy literally plays Lil Rel, where he's talking to the friend and he's literally like, y'all, this sounds awful. Get the hell out of there. And just like Get Out, I was on team Daniel Levy. I was on team Lil Rel, and I was like, Kristen Stewart, you got to get out of there, girl. Like, this ain't gonna work. This is definitely one of those moments where it's like, you got to bail. Peace, deuces. Like, literally 30 minutes in the movie, I kept saying that. I kept saying, girl, you gotta
Yep.
get out of there. This ain't gonna work at all. But that was my thing too, is like it had those little vibes. Obviously, we get the happy ending, we get the emotional connection, we get the big speech at the end, which worked, right? It's not that it didn't work, but that's probably my biggest thing in this whole movie. But I did appreciate it overall, even though I did have a few issues with them. But let's go back to the performances real quick. You mentioned Kristen Stewart. Is that the standout for you as well, RB3?
Yeah, obviously I'm a big Kristen Stewart fan. So much so it's became a meme at this point. But yeah, I really like her, and she's playing it kind of light and fluffy here a little bit too. But you see a lot of vulnerability in her character too, and you see a lot of that. I think, particularly in the middle when she's having that conversation with Aubrey Plaza's character, and she's kind of learning a lot about the past of what's her name again? Harper, there we go. And Abby's learning a lot about the past of Harper, and how she mistreated Aubrey Plaza's character Riley, and all that kind of stuff. And at that point you're like, whoa, and then especially when it comes to next morning, and then you saw Harper hanging out with Connor, from the high school, and then she's coming back, and then we see Abby trying to talk to Harper afterwards, and she's giving her like the cold shoulder, and you kind of see this moment with like Kristen Stewart's face where she's like kind of like defeated almost, like she kind of knows something is like kind of going on and kind of under the covers. And I don't know, I thought that was a really impressive moment, but she has like a lot of those little moments all throughout the entire movie.
That's my thing, man. Like low key, this movie is literally just Kristen Stewart slowly realized, like, yo, my girl low key trash. Like the whole movie, I was like, oh, your family's trash, and then I was like, you low key trash. No, you really trash. Like the whole time, it's like the more the movie goes on, the more you dislike Mackenzie Davis's character. Like she starts to turn really shitty, like a really shitty person. You find out the story about Aubrey Plaza. You find out like the way she treats her family, her sister, like it's just not like, I know it's supposed to be funny, but it's just kind of rude and kind of mean. And it's like, oh, you've been writing that book for 10 years. You suck. And I'm just like, that's kind of messed up to say to your little sister. Like,
well,
the movie goes,
how sisters are.
Yeah, but then he's flirting with her ex-boyfriend, like, in front of her, like that's not cool either. And then like the way she brushes her aside and says, oh, you're needy, as if like, bro, like you've been ignoring her this whole time, she's needy. Like, peace, deuces, close that door, close that chapter, man, because low-key your girl trash. And it comes from her obsession with her family, which you start to realize that you're obsessed with your family, and your family happens to be trash. You low-key trash. I don't know. I'm sure you have thoughts too, Sabrina. But.
Well, so that's like a strong version of I'm really in the middle on it. So I understand, but I'm gonna start off with this. Of course, towards the beginning, we have the beautiful moment between the couple, and then we have the car ride to the family's house. And then that's when we realized that Mackenzie Davis lied to Kristen Stewart. That's kind of the first red flag. That's something that's strike one. That's kind of inexcusable, especially because it's such a serious topic. Like you could never you could never be already on the way to your parents' house, not let your girlfriend know this. So the fact that she did, kind of in a situation where she can't go back and turn around and go back home because she's uncomfortable, that's a red flag. So it starts off that way, but also coming from Harper's perspective, her family is so clean cut, so worried about appearances, that I like that they tackled this topic. Not 100% agree with like every single aspect of it, and I'll get to that in a second. But I do like that we have this kind of identity crisis on how to portray yourself in your normal life versus when you see your family only a few times a year. You know, like for somebody who doesn't get to see their family often, who lives in a different town, you know, you come back, you kind of put on this facade, everything's okay, everything's right, let's just enjoy our time together. We have the relationship between the sisters. It's very apparent that they've all been kind of fighting for their parents' attention, fighting for their parents' love. So no, that is not a healthy kind of familial relationship. So that's why I understand her trying to hide this aspect of herself, because this is something that's very, very relevant, very important still to this day. We have that moment with Dan Levy's character where he's like, yeah, my dad didn't talk to me for 13 years. It's that fear of what could possibly happen, because you have no idea what your family's reaction could be if you kind of let out this aspect of yourself. So it's obviously this internal conflict of her wanting to be herself, but also having that what if from the family. You don't want to lose your family, even if you only see them a few times a year, but also you don't want to lose the love of your life. I feel like the lying was the part that really got me, and then it did progressively get worse. Speaking on Aubrey Plaza, I wanted this to end happy for Kristen Stewart. I would have honestly loved if Kristen Stewart and Aubrey Plaza like kind of ended up together at the end, the two people that were kind of done wrong by this person, not necessarily saying that, you know, that's also the best thing in the world to date somebody's ex just because somebody is being shitty to you. But I just think their chemistry was through the roof. Like even just the moments when they're glancing at each other from across the room, I kind of wanted to see a little more than that. Not like a cheating scene or anything, but I kind of wanted even more back and forth with Kristen Stewart and Aubrey Plaza within this film. I liked a lot of that. My issue overall, I obviously really enjoyed this, but my issue is at the end, how like, obviously Alison Brie says her secret in front of the entire party. And then when she doubles down on it, that was the biggest thing. I wish that was kind of omitted and she finally did kind of confess. I do like that later on she did say it just in front of her own family because it's kind of nobody else's business and it would have been better around the family. That's why I almost wish all of them were like in a different room at the party. And then that's when the secret came out, not in front of every single person, all of these people in the town. And then when she doubled down on it, I was like, oh, I really, really can't support them ending up together. And how fast the family kind of flipped, like overnight, like the mom coming in and be like, well, I wanted to do karate. We're so focused on this. They kind of throughout the entire film never had redeeming qualities to them.
Nope.
They're constantly making fun of Kristen Stewart kind of by little comments after she's like stealing and everything like that, calling her an orphan, always like really talking down to her the entire film.
Yeah, that's my thing. My thing is like, I get it. Your family's a lot. Trust me, I totally get the whole family thing. It's important. Yeah, just why you drag your girl into it? Why are you dragging her down, dealing with your own baggage? Like, deal with your shit first, and then see what you can do as far as that relationship goes. Don't try to burn two bridges at once, or try to save one bridge and burn the other. Here's my thing. I wrote this stuff down. I'm sorry, guys. I had to do it. Harper. This is a list of things Harper did in this movie.
Toxic.
Let me tell you. First, number one, you said it, Sabrina. Strike one. Lied about the whole thing. Lied about the coming out thing. That's strike one. In the middle of the drive, so she can't just go back. Mm-hmm. That's strike one. Strike two. Her cover story is about the most traumatic thing in Kristen Stewart's life. Her parents dying is a joke. You're an orphan. Your family thinks that you're an orphan. And I'm like, that's traumatic for her. Like, she lost her parents, and that's the big running thing. That's messed up, bro. Like, I tell my family to you, in my cover story is happens to be the most traumatic thing in your entire life. The fact that you're an orphan, that's strike two. That's a big strike. Like, my God, that's pretty abusive. And then what else did I say? Oh yeah, her family's trash. Right. We find out that her family are bigots.
Qualities.
Her family are bigots.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that too. Yeah.
She said the reason why she won't tell her family is, oh, don't worry about it. It's just because it's a political thing because of my dad. That's worse. That's way worse because you're implying that now Kristen Stewart is now political baggage to her and to her family. That's a terrible thing to imply to a significant other. And the fact that it's like, oh, it's my dad's political career. That sounds awful because it's your dad's political career. Okay, she starts to treat Kristen Stewart like crap. Okay. Lied about her ex-boyfriend. Yep. Flirting with her ex-boyfriend. Yep. Ruined Aubrey Plaza's life. Yep. Sounds like a pretty bad person so far. I already said use your parents dying as a cover story. Yeah, this is all stuff that I wrote down that makes her a pretty bad person. And the fact that she starts to blame her and starts to treat her like garbage. I don't know, guys. I tried real hard because I love Mackenzie Davis. She's my girl. And I was like, damn, girl, you suck.
Yeah.
She's pretty terrible. And the fact that her family is so trash, like so trash, it almost makes me feel like, is it even worth trying to save that with your... You see what I'm saying? Like, if I'm someone who's seeing them from afar, and I'm like, this is the people that you're trying to get acceptance from? the kind of people who do these speeches, to do these like governor dinners that are awful and trying to get financing from terrible people. Yeah. The weird Alison Brie thing that I don't know what kind of vibes y'all got from that Alison Brie thing, but was I the only one who got vibes where I was like, what is going on with like this children thing? Like, are they obsessed with like mixed kids or something?
Oh, that's why I was gonna hop into that.
Were they like using them as like show ponies and stuff? And I was like, did I catch that right?
Well, I thought this is why I thought, it's funny because I thought the same exact thing, Andres, because in the beginning, when the father when all the family comes in and you see Alison Brie and the husband who's a black dude and their kids come in, and he's like, look at this beautiful family we could take pictures with, and they're obsessed with like this family picture. It's almost like it's just for the look, right? But then part of me also wonders,
they say it again though.
Yeah, but I mean, part of me wonders like with Alison Brie vying for attention this entire movie and over Old Girl, part of me wonders is if her character has been slightly kind of shunned out of this family simply for dating a black person or marrying a black person to begin with. Like, that could literally be a part of it. They don't say that. That's not something that's there, but I mean, she's the only one of the sisters who's like pretty much actively ignored throughout the entire movie. And then, that's one of the things that stand out. So, I mean, to me, and then, especially when you look at like where these quote unquote politicians like kind of stand on to begin with, like for me, when I think of this movie, I think of I think of Dick Cheney and his daughter Mary Cheney, right? And people who don't know, Dick Cheney, vice president, obviously George Bush, his daughter Mary Cheney is lesbian, and he would actively go out on the campaign trail regularly. The president George Bush and Liz Cheney, who's also a politician, will all actively go out in the campaign trail and campaign against gay rights, against same-sex marriage, and it totally killed the relationship with Mary, who was their youngest daughter, and has suffered and had to deal with that kind of plight throughout her entire life. And to me, it's like that situation to me couldn't be more heartbreaking. Like, to me, when you have an entire family who's actively going and rooting against self-expression, expressing yourself to the fullest, and allowing you to express your identity to the fullest, is the most toxic trash thing in the entire world. Which, to quote my favorite movie, not my favorite movie, but the cinematic masterpiece Hustlers, hurt people. And the fact that Harper's character has been so inflicted in pain and hurt and self-suppression in her own life leads her to have to carry those abusive tendencies into her relationship, which is not good, which is terrible.
Yeah, that's why for me, I'll let you go, Sabrina. What I'm saying is, like, that's why for me, I still like this movie, even though I just trashed Harper so hard. I bought it, but my thing was like, it was hard. That's all I'm saying. Like, this was real hard. I'm still like low key on the Team Aubrey Plaza. But yeah,
we're definitely picking apart its flaws, but I think all of us express that this genuinely is fun. There are moments where I wish they just made the family a little bit more redeeming, a little less evil seeming, because then I would believe the ending maybe a little bit more, believe that turnaround a little bit more. It was just they kind of kept doubling down on the fact that they were trash people. But also the thing with Alison Brie's character, something that I noticed, because the mom was talking highly of her before we were introduced to her. She was talking highly of her in the past, saying like, oh, she went to this college, her husband went to this college, they graduated, they had amazing things, and then they ended up having a family, and now they make baskets for a living or something like that. And that's why Kristen Stewart's like, oh, you make baskets. And then Alison Brie's like giving her the cold shoulder. She's like, actually, yeah. She's like, actually, it's this, and this. But because the mom kind of simplified it to a certain thing, which because she thinks that they both have more potential. So I do believe that aesthetically, the family probably very much so kind of embraced him as a husband, because he graduated, I believe it was from Yale, they say in the film. And both of them were going to have successful things, and aesthetically, like, it looks nice. And then once they decide to do something else with their careers, that's when they kind of shut them out. They're like, oh, you make baskets. It's nothing intellectual. It's nothing that difficult. And then another thing that we're talking about is the younger sister. It's so sad how she is constantly just sitting there basically being used 24/7. It's like, oh, the Wi-Fi is broken. Oh, this is broken. Oh, go check this out. And she's just running around and she's happy and smiley this entire time as nobody's paying attention to her. Nobody cares. People are constantly belittling her. It's just very difficult to see. But the thing is that I know families like this. I know friends who have like families or their larger family is kind of like this, where people just compete. People, you know, like I said it before, I knew a family like this, and it's very realistic to how these people kind of are. It's very, very toxic. It's very competitive. And if you don't really focus on that as you're growing up, you will bring that into your relationships. You'll bring that into your friendships. You'll bring that into your adult life. And it's very apparent that all of them have. Obviously, Allison Brie and her husband, did they even really love each other? We don't know. It doesn't seem like it. And they're getting a divorce. There's all these different aspects with every single character. So yeah, we're picking it apart, but I still really love this film. But that I loved everything with Kristen Stewart. I loved everything with Aubrey Plaza, everything with Dan Levy. I loved Mary Holland as the sister because she never really does anything wrong. She's just kind of there. So all of those aspects I genuinely loved about the film. And I like that they touched upon how hard it is to kind of be in the closet if you don't feel accepted. Sure. I just think that they didn't go about it in the best way.
Yeah, it's definitely realistic, and there's definitely layers to this. It's not as simple as what I'm saying. However, I do feel like from Kristen Stewart's point of view, if you see this and you see this as her family and you see her groveling and trying to get attention from this type of people, even though it is her family, and she's able to demean herself to the point of treating her own person that she supposedly loves like absolute trash in order to look cool in front of her family, like that to me sends so many wrong vibes. And when you hear about Aubrey Plaza's story, and you hear all this stuff about her being like a really like low-key trash human being, and then my thing too, like my thing is, I didn't mind making the family completely unredeeming. That's cool. But then when Mackenzie Davis started to seem a little bit like unredeeming, I would have preferred little things, Sabrina. Wouldn't it have been better? Just bear with me here. If like, what if a little detail was like she was really nice to her little sister throughout the movie, right? That would have been a cool little thing where it's like throughout the whole movie, everyone's mean to her except for Mackenzie Davis. Or, you know, everyone does this, but Mackenzie Davis doesn't. Everyone does that, but Mackenzie Davis kind of steps back a little bit. But throughout the whole movie, she's just like doubling down. She's just as bad as her dad. She's just as bad as her mom. That's the thing that rubbed me wrong, where I started to say, maybe this is an opportunity for Kristen Stewart to see, oh, the person I've been going out with has been awful all along, and they've just been hiding it with me, because look at her wanting to prove herself in front of her family so much that she pushes other people down. That's not the type of person I want to be with. And that's why I liked when she said that. I was like, yes, get
100%.
out. Bro, get out, bro. Get out.
Exactly. Dan
out.
Levy stepping in to seriously help his friend. I almost wish she had left initially when he came in. But also talking about Mackenzie Davis, the way that she treated Kristen Stewart. I know we already said this, but throughout the entire trip, imagine if we were in that position and we were taken home to a significant other's family's house and they're not even talking to us. We're going out in a town that we don't know, all on our own. We're meeting random people, hanging out with random people. I would be so uncomfortable. And then her family just talking down to her the entire time, not wanting her to go to certain events. That would be so uncomfortable. And they kind of already do right away, just like push her aside in like the basement room. And I get that that's like the room that they have, but if I was traveling with friends to one of their houses, I've stayed in their rooms, like genuine friends. We've like, I don't know, they've had air mattresses, they've had other situations. It's kind of uncomfortable to separate somebody all the way in the basement to everybody all the way up on top. It shows initially they're already kind of just like pushing her aside, and then once all the situations
yeah, I mean, you know, I it's funny because I will put this movie in the same vein as I'll put movies like Long Shot or Trial of Chicago 7 or there's another one I thought of too recently. Where I like the movie and I like the content itself, but I just can't agree with the politics, or I can't agree with like what's being represented. You know what I mean? Like,
feel you.
and And as much as, you know, I think this movie's like actually really funny. I think a lot of the comedy, like a lot of the comedy
and
scenarios.
We're definitely like reading into a lot of comedic beats and stuff. And I get
Yeah.
it. We're being very nitpicky on certain comedic.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
I had to be.
I think the fact that we're talking about this stuff is exactly the purpose of this movie. Like, I think, you know, it's funny, but I think a great comedy is supposed to elicit laughs and conversation and, you know, dialogue, and kind of open up an interior conversation between yourself and, you know, maybe your family. I could see a family watching this during Christmas and actually having a conversation about it. And I could see that being a good thing. But yeah, I mean, even though I fundamentally disagree with like the outcome of it, like, you know, in terms of like what is, you know, what this family is supposed to represent or whatever, I can't help to say it wasn't like not heartwarming. Like, I did feel heartwarmed at the end of it. I was happy to see them end up together. And, you know, I hope, you know, I always hope that love is going to thrive, even in the midst of you know, a toxic kind of beginning. You know, I think they were able to I think we effectively, even though the family didn't really redeem themselves, I think Mackenzie Davis's character ultimately ends up kind of having, you know, her own moments. But I mean, for me, a funny moment that I thought was really funny, that, you know, and it's funny because, like I said, a lot of the comedy plays off of this trauma and abuse stuff. But I thought one moment that was just hysterical to me was when Mackenzie Davis is in like when Kristen Stewart is in the closet, in the utility closet, and then the little vacuum cleaner thingy comes on. I just thought that whole sequence was really funny. And then also there's other funny scenes I had too, but I don't want to take any.
That's the thing. Back onto the positive. Definitely, I'm really happy that this movie exists. Like, I'm really happy that we have something. We do have this light lesbian romance comedy film, especially taking place around Christmas. Like I kind of said in the beginning, a lot of films like this always end in this doomed romance type of thing. I'm really happy that we got something that is lighthearted. Love does prevail in the end. And, you know, this can open up a conversation between families, between young women, young men, kind of about sexuality, about exploring who you are, and kind of having that conversation between families about acceptance. And this is a great example of that. Even though we didn't nitpick it, I am very, very happy this movie exists. Actually, probably so far in my top 10 of the year for sure. I really did enjoy it, and there were so many funny moments. Like I said before, I didn't think I would laugh as much as I did. And I'm happy that happened. I'm happy it was as funny as it was, because it's a pretty bleak, dreary premise. This is something very difficult. So instead of, even though Kristen Stewart did have a lot of emotional moments, I'm just happy that the kind of added to the situation.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts, RB3?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is overall a good thing that, you know, this movie is here. You know, I definitely would prefer to see this over, you know, Daddy's Homes 2 or something ridiculous like that. But, you know, at the same time, like y'all mentioned, there are problems with it. There are flaws with, you know, the way of the characterization, of the way certain things are represented. And, you know, ultimately, is it realistic? Yes. Is it using that realism to make laugh and comedy? Yeah, of course. But I think it also is genuine and sweet, and it's just cheesy enough to where I think I could convince like my mom to watch it, because that's how I really grade rom-coms is how effectively will they make my mom like kind of enjoy it. And, you know, even though she doesn't, you know, we watch a lot of she watches a lot of Hallmark, you know what I mean? She watches a lot of Hallmark. So it's not, you know, it's not really the greatest quality there. So whenever I find something that's, you know, above average or really, really good that I could enjoy for the holidays with moms, you know, I think this is definitely going to be one of them. So
yeah, that's definitely the vibe they were trying to get with this movie. And I think that the time helps a lot, if I'm being real. Like the fact that it's like a $1.30 helped. If
Definitely.
This thing was like $2.15 or something, I'd be like, oh boy, I don't know if I can do that. So I think it's a perfect like holiday blend for that stuff. And I know I trashed Mackenzie Davis, but I had to do it. Sorry, girl. But I get it. I get that it's definitely not as simple. It's not as black and white for everyone when it comes to these certain things with their family. So I totally get that. Either way, guys, those are our thoughts on Happiest season. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. Have you seen this movie? Are you going to watch this movie? What are your thoughts on Team Aubrey Plaza or Team Mackenzie Davis? Let us know in the comments down below. Either way, RB3, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Director RB3, and you can find Timestamp. Where just type in Timestamp movie or Timestamp film in any social media platform, including here on YouTube. You can find the trailer right here on YouTube.
Sabrina.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SabrinaXMonica, and then also on Twitter at SabrinaOnFilm.
Obviously, guys, I'm at Squad Leader Racing. You can follow us at First Cut TMO. Subscribe here to First Cut if you haven't done so already. And for the First Cut crew, we're peacing out. Peace.
This ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. With the 4/5 divide you in half. You getting at me equals a bloodbath.